So step number 1 is to push it to Facebook Live. It's not worth it to experiment when you're testing, to throw them at 2 different streams together and then you've got people messaging you from Facebook or wherever all at the same time. So let's have a look. So yeah, Facebook Live's working. That's great. Thank you. So we'll get to why this is cool in a minute once I kick off. Did I say Facebook? I meant YouTube. All right, let's see if we can add Facebook to this. And any second now. Any second now. All right, so all I'm going to do is just sit here and faff, and you can do whatever you like while I attempt to see if this works. Webinar, home. Yeah, here it is. So it's the first time I've tried, I think, as far as I know, streaming in this era to my own page. So apologies. Just read the white writing on the red if you're confused about what's going on. All right. So I guess what I haven't checked is the audio. So excuse me for a minute. It's going to look weird. Okay. No, I can't hear anything in the Facebook. Oh, I've got the wrong thing connected. And there it is. All right, terrific. So this is going just beautifully. So hi, number 1 viewer. All right. This is not meant to be entertainment, and I'm sorry, but if I can entertain, then fine. I'm recording this. I'm sending. So my vMix software, which is my mixing software, is my poor computer is sending this output to NDI as an output to another computer over here, which I'll show you in a minute. It's also recording in 2 ways. It's recording. Oh, am I going to hit the right button here? Yes, it's recording that camera view separately in high def, or no, maybe even 4K. And it's also recording the output, which is everything you're seeing there. And at the same time, it's streaming to Facebook and YouTube. So basically, I am trying to hammer my computer to see what's what, to see what the limits are. It looks like I'm using 42% of my GPU and 14% of my CPU, which doesn't seem much. Am I to be worried? But either way. All right, next important thing. All right, let's do some showing off. There's a whole list of new stuff that I've got to cover. And hey, before I go on, this is the whole point of streaming, isn't it? But on YouTube, my friend 24 Vignettes is saying hi from frozen Missouri. My problem is I'm running, I've got YouTube playing silently on this other computer, and I've got to look around, and I've got these multifocal glasses. So I've got to do these big, at the moment, these big dramatic turns. So I'll have to sort that out, maybe move the monitor up that way a little bit. All right, what can I show you? First things first, yesterday I got an email from, what are they called? and Zencaster have now introduced adding video to their things. I made a quick video on my first reactions to that, and it looked really good. So that's a nice option. Zencaster is a little bit like, I guess now it's a little bit like using Zoom. The only difference is the recording, each person's voice not recording on a cloud, it's recording onto their computer, and then after the recording, that it's not reliant on bandwidth. That's then sending it to the cloud afterwards as a finished file. So it's pretty cool like that. So Zencaster have added video, which is kind of handy for me because I'm already using it quite regularly. So if I'm organising, especially during lockdown, if I'm organising a remote recording, I can sit here in the studio or even at home, and I can produce, direct, whatever you want to call it, the show and make sure everything's fine. And I can also record a couple of redundancy versions on my mixer and various places. So that's a good way of doing it. And now there's video added. It's pretty cool. So let me show you this. The exotic mood lighting over there is pretty exciting. I've got a text message coming through. Now I'm hoping that this is hearing. Thank you. That's good. Someone who reads the red writing, the red ticker tape. That's awesome. Let me know if my nipples are hanging out. So the lighting. Okay. God, it's going to take a long time to cover all this stuff. There's nothing really new in the lighting, but if you have a good look, I'm so used to my PTZ cameras, I'm used to being able to zoom in on things, but this is a static G95 Panasonic camera that's pointing at the main room, and it's actually been converted into NDI, and the images are running through the Ethernet cable into the computer. So I can pick up any of these cameras from anywhere really within the network, which is pretty exciting, and we'll get to that in a little while. So I've got to say, hang on a minute. Just let me check. All right, good. So that's pretty static. But if you look at the what I'm calling Stonehenge, if you look at the black kind of monoliths over there, I'm pointing at them. I should be clever enough to do this. Those black monoliths, one of them's got that sort of weird thing. And I was talking to my mate Josh Jansen from the big media company, my guru and expert on all things video production. And I was saying colour management is becoming a thing now because, I've got, multiple cameras, 2 different brands, stuff like that, and you've got to get them all matching. And I said, it seems so expensive to get one of those board things that's got the colours that you shine both cameras on and make sure they all match. And he said, just go down to Bunnings and get some colour swatches, which is what I did. And what's even better is because it's so far away, I can point the camera at the colour swatch and then have another one. I've got a drawer full of them, and then I can actually compare it, next to the monitor here, as long as the monitor's right. But roughly, it's all about having the cameras matching each other more than anything else. So there you have it. So that's what that is. That's a homemade gaffer tape and Dulux, some kind of brand, colour swatch board. So there you go. What else? Now I've got to show you some of this. So it's kind of a new set. I'm trying to simplify this set. Having said that, it's Having said that, it's I haven't made a secret button for this particular. Watch this. So I'll show you this thing here. This is my Elgato Stream Deck, which is just divine. So it even has little tiny low res, low frame rate thumbnails of in the buttons, in the LCDs, showing what is going to happen when you press that button. So I can go in tight if I want to get super serious, and I can go in out. I can turn So I'm just using this one pad thing. Let's see if I can get it so that you can see. So I can add different inputs. That's another camera altogether, and we'll get to that. That's a sneak preview of my guitar. And that is a totally other computer that's sending out its monitor in HD into the NDI, so into my network. So my vMix software can just pick up whatever's on any computer in this network. So I'm kind of still pretty thrilled by that. So I can turn the ticker tapes off. I can even turn my logo off. So that's that for now. So what I quite like is being able to do this. If you're doing an interview or something like that, you can have someone on Zoom or Zencaster or Teams, or preferably vMix Call, which is an inbuilt high-res, awesome facility to do video links directly. So I can go in tight here, but I can also, just remember which button, I just set this up yesterday, I can also go in tight to another guest. I can sort of share, and then most likely just use this one. And I can kind of add whatever I want to these things. All right, now I've got some things to talk about. Here we go. Tottenham teacher, CA. Now, if someone says greetings from capital C, capital A, I'm guessing it's America, because I guess anywhere else in the world, you'd probably say what country. CA, would that be California? Is that how you say California? C, capital A? Or is it like, I don't know, something else? Canada, maybe. Bought the L8. Okay, so the L8 is my mixing desk, which I can't show you right now because I've just ran out of cameras, believe it or not. So the L8 is the Zoom live track mixing desk. Probably came out about a year after the Rodecaster Pro hit the world with an explosive, game-changing force, if I can be any more dramatic. The Rodecaster was an absolute magnificent beast. And Zoom, famous for portable recording stuff and recording gear, they've come in and made a small podcasting style mixer. A lot more complicated, a lot more bells and whistles, a lot more like a normal traditional mixer, which is a bit much for some people. But in this particular studio, as you can see, 4 mics are just the beginning. There's all sorts of other inputs that I need to put in. So I was doing a radio play in here at one stage. Put those off. I was recording a radio play for Tegan Higginbotham with a whole bunch of cool actors, and they were all standing around. I'll just show you. They were standing around sort of where Stonehenge is, where the table wasn't there, at microphones, reading out a radio play. It was awesome. Look it up. Red Hot Australian Christmas or Aussie Christmas. I can't remember. Sorry, Tegan. But a Red Hot Aussie Christmas, worth having a listen. And you can hear it on the Loose Units podcast, which is a true crime podcast by her husband Paul. And if you look up Loose Units, you'll see one of those episodes is the release of the play, and it's really cool. So there you go. Radio plays are coming back, and probably one of the big reasons I built this particular studio, as well as Studio One, which is next door, was an inquiry I got from somebody else. They didn't go ahead with it because of timing and COVID and everything, but I did get an inquiry about using some warehouse space that's reasonably sound treated to record a play. And that made me go, wow, this room was coming up. And I went, that's it, I'm doing that. So there you go. Finally fulfilled its purpose. So in breaking news, now that I've got 2 people watching on the Facebook and 3 in YouTube, in breaking news, drum roll, before long, I'd say within the next few months, Studio 3 will be in effect. Studio 3 is going to be an open warehouse. There won't be acoustic treatment. There won't be soundproofing. It will be I guess, a small sound stage, if you like, but about probably 4 times the size of this room, but with natural light, and it's just going to be an open space. So that is next door to here. So it'll be Studio 1, 2, and 3 in a row, and I'll be then the whole back end of this warehouse will be studios. It's gonna be grouse. All right, sorry. Tottenham, yep, no worries. I probably was being a bit of a smart ass. CAUSA, so I'm guessing that's California. So is it cold in California? I guess everything seems to be cold when we're just looking at those satellite pictures. We're just, I guess they're kind of made up. I don't think it can't be a photo, surely, of just a complete white country. But I'm thinking graphics, but it looks horrifically cold over here. We do not, in Melbourne here, gets a bit cold, but relatively, we don't get snow. We sort of in the little foothills, just on the outskirts of the city, probably 25, 30 kilometres away, you do get maybe once a year a bit of snowfalls, and everyone carries on about it and it's on the news. But nah, this is not a snow place, which obviously means it doesn't go below 0 very much at all. Ice on your windscreens in the morning is about it. So feeling for you guys in America, that's for sure. If it's not one thing, it's the other. Okay, so you're thinking about, you're wondering whether to stick with the L8. It's pretty handy. Like, I went back, I used the Rodecaster for a year, and that was during the year where they were coming up with these updates every now and again that were making it actually usable. Like, it was, when it first came out, it was kind of a bit of a joke for me because there was no multi-track on the SD card, and there was no multi-track into the DAW. And then when they released multi-track into the DAW, I was using Adobe Audition and the drivers weren't working properly. Started using Reaper, which I'm stick with now forever. I absolutely love Reaper. And it's great because you can teach people how to use it and they can download it and start using it. I think it's an evaluation that lasts as long as you want. I think I pay for 2 or 3 licenses for it, for various devices I've got, but it's only about 80 Australian dollars or 90 Australian dollars once off. So Reaper is fantastic, and that works well with the Rodecaster. But my point is, we got the Rodecaster, used that, which was great. Then I got the Zoom L8, and that's when I did my, big, long, rambling comparison shootout video. And I am due to do another one, which is like both of these, one studio each, being used all the time by me. Now is the time to do a comparison. Like, I literally could not, and I probably proved my point that I was making in the first video predicting, but I could not have anything less in here. It has to be the L8 because of the complex mix minuses and the extra inputs, and just that hands-on control is very important to me in here. And in the other room, because that's a room where I need people to be able to walk in and simply record 4 people talking, the Rodecaster Pro is fantastic. So it's a bit of a dream. I'm going to try and, bear with me, I'm going to try and move my monitor so I can keep up without looking sideways all the time. Oh God, it's all going to go wrong if I do this too much. All right. Yeah. Teaching's a lot easier on the Rodecaster Pro. I'm setting up some studios for some secondary schools at the moment, and they're using the Rodecaster Pro, which means really almost foolproof. But the only little problem with that is they've got all schools all have licenses for the Adobe stuff. So it's like I either muck around with the ASIO 4 all driver, sort of external driver, extra drivers, and get them to work and fiddle around, which could be complicated in that environment, or I just go, you have to use Reaper across the board. But it's tricky. But either way. All right, I haven't thought of the idea. Minus 22. Get out. That's unthinkable. Does that mean you can just keep your Pfizer vaccine outside? I don't know what the temperature is for that. I'm struggling following all of this. I need a special. What have I done? Now playing. What does that mean? Have I done something wrong? Oh no. So, all right. That's cool. All right, we need a way of being able to read these comments sort of in front of me. I mean, I could put them on this other monitor. I wonder why I haven't. I think I set you up this monitor to show you there. That's the monitor I'm looking at. So that's Facebook and YouTube next to each other. And I know there are ways of getting the chat all in one line. I experimented with using some of those third-party multiple streaming things. I think I'm all right to stream so far. I'd like to know if anyone can see any delays or any problems with quality. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to absolutely stress this computer and my broadband to the max, just to see what we can come up with. All right, it's time for a tour. Are you ready? Here it is. So first things first. This is an easy way to. There's so many things to show you that are new in here. Oh, I know what it is. You'll notice that I'm well lit. Right, have a look at this. So, lighting, having a talk to my guru, legend Josh Jansen, and he explained a few things about lighting. And I had these great big sort of cheap soft lights, and they were a pain in the neck in a studio that's meant to be mainly for sitting around feeling comfortable. It was a bit awkward. So these big studio lights were kind of in your face. And I bought these cool things, and let me just bear with me while sorry about the mic noise. Let me just get on my remote control. And there we go. You see that? That's the light that's shining on my face right now. So it sort of bolts to the wall. Absolutely love it. Bolts to the wall. You can adjust it sort of up high, down low, and extend it. See that join? So you can extend it right out. And I had those big classic soft light boxes on there, but I've just got these things from, I think they're the New Era ones, and they are awesome. And I did a comparison, and they are at least 1.5 times as bright as the giant soft boxes. So I love this thing, and I may as well show you while I'm here my favourite little R2-D2 guy. That is the camera that's pointing at me right now. That's a Bird Dog PTZ P200 camera, and it uses NDI. So there's one cable plugged into that camera, and that cable is an Ethernet cable, and that's how it gets its power, its controls from this remote control or any web controller, and how it sends the full encoded HD signal back into my network. pretty amazing. But we've gone over that a few times before. I think it's time. I am probably, I wouldn't call myself the opposite to a royalist, but I'm definitely not a royalist, okay? But I do have this, which has been in my family for a while, and that's a chair from the kitchen of Buckingham Palace, okay? More on that some other day. But it's a chair that was carved. It was carved, have a look. See the ER? Edward, right? Edward. Edward was to be the king when King George died, and they carved the chairs, put them in the kitchen, and then he nicked off, decided to hook up with an American woman who'd been divorced or something. So the powers that be said, "Get stuffed, you can't," and he said, "Nah, you get stuffed," and he was off. So they gave the chairs away to the staff at the palace, apparently, and a woman immigrated to Australia, kept it for a long time, and eventually gave it to my mother, and I ended up with it recently when I said, "Can I have that?" And she said yes. So there you go. I've got a little bit of that, my only royalism. So, the tour. There's something else exciting, and it might be a bit of a tour of shame if I show it to you, but this might not work, and it might show a bit of mess or a bit of knee. Ooh, can we get any? I've just put it in. No, but you can see a coiled up really thick cable there. That, my friends, is a 8-core or 8-channel cable. So I bought that, and I bought 2 boxes that had a row of female 1/4-inch stereo jacks and a row of female XLRs, and another box that had male XLRs. I bought better XLR pots and put those in, and I soldered the whole thing up. So now I have a loom that, once I've tidied it up, that will be, you can see what travels right now. I'm waiting on some carpet conduit, if you like, but that's currently everything that's heading to that table. So instead of, before that, like a few days ago, that big thick black one at the top there, that was 4 microphone cables and 4 return headphone cables to the desk. So now that one thing has 8, so it technically has 24 cables inside of it, and it brings the microphones from the main desk, which you're familiar with there. So those microphones plug into the desk, and there's other cables that plug into the loom, and the loom sneaks around. So it's long enough to go anywhere or even another room. So that's what's the white one is a network cable, and I'm just waiting on. I've just ordered a huge one to go right around the room under the carpet, and one of them is a return TRRS cable in case a client wants to sit at the table and plug in and use Zoom from their own device or something like that. What's the other one? There's an HDMI cable. So if you look at on that table there, sorry, I'm going to get to this chat in a minute. It's just not in a good place for me to see. That's better. I'll answer all these questions, that's for sure, in a minute. So you'll see on that table there's a little tiny a black thing. What that actually is, and let me use my magical, what the camera I'm moving around here is another exact version of the one that I showed you before. It's a PTZ. Right, there's a microphone in the way, but that's the monitor there. That monitor is set up to duplicate my second monitor, which is the one you see here, which just has nothing. It's just a screensaver on there right now. So what I can do is if I've got a host on there and I'm producing a show, there's a couple of things. I can send them notes, secret information, or I can do a Google search if they're kind of scratching their head and they want to, pretend that they've just remembered something they were wondering before. But the most use I get from that is sending a Zoom. So I run a Zoom call or a Zencaster or vMix call or whatever, but people can sit there on camera and face the camera, but actually look at that monitor and see the person they're having a remote call with. So it's worked really, really well. Very, very pleased. So there is that little sneaky one. I know what you're wondering, what's going on here? Okay, well, that's my band. We've got this, that's the drummer sitting there on top of that snare, the Casio. It goes dum chick dum chick dum chick, because me and a few other middle-aged weirdos are attempting to learn instruments. And there, you'll see on the wall there, that's my baby. So I'm trying to learn how to use that. A Fender Telly. All right. So nothing new. I'm going to get to the questions now. I've got an idea. Why don't I do this? There you go. You can read them yourselves. So, I'm no expert at this live stream thing from doing it. Technically, we're getting there, but actually doing it at the same time, it's awkward. I think I'll love the L8 and stay. If you've got the courage, Toto, TT, if you've got the courage, then, and you think you've got some kind of future reason to need more than 4 microphone inputs and versatility, then the L8's pretty cool. There's a few things over the last year that I'd probably have made me kind of go, oh, I wish they didn't do that, like the power supply. I'd rather it had its own separate power supply because it gets it through the USB, which means when your computer shuts down, it shuts down. And if that happens, it goes to battery power. So I put batteries in the beginning, and I'm sure there's a way around this. I just haven't looked it up. At the first I thought, oh, this is great, I'll put batteries in it. And that way the show goes on if the power goes off or if someone unplugs something. But it doesn't, because the first time your computer shuts down, it runs on batteries that night and then the batteries are dead. And that's the end of it. So not sure I'm completely pleased with the micro USB as the only connection. But it's been working well for me because I haven't needed that power redundancy. And plus I use behind this curtain now, I've got a UPS that is connected to the NAS and the computer and all this stuff. So there's plenty of time if all the lights go off and the power goes off. There's plenty of time for everything to save and shut down. All right, let's have a look. RX8, yes. Elements, yeah, Elements will do it. Also, I bought, so you've bought it already. That isotope stuff is really bizarre because when I got a job back in the day, I got a job that was was a big corporate job, and it was a complete and utter cock up. Like the big fancy audio guys, they went, yeah, we got this, and I'm going, I'm serious. It's got to be multi-track. It's got to be blah blah blah. And anyway, it was a cock up, and it was my job to repair it. And it was like recorded in a big conference center somewhere, and they literally recorded everything into one stereo track. And so I had to go in and get the RX, well, it was RX7, what I've got, and I had to go in and get that at full price. So it was heartbreaking, because I know that it's like, sometimes it's like a tenth of the price, just randomly. So if you can wait for your RX stuff or your isotope products, then good. But what was the one I got recently? It was Ozone Elements. It wasn't very dear. That's a nice sort of mastering kind of good way to just crisp things up quite easily. Recommend that. But the RX is critical. I could not live without those plugins. They are so cool. I've got to do that. All right. So I'm going to bring back, excuse me for a second. Yep. All right, cool. This has been a great test because it's been going for nearly an hour, and still my resources are at 31%. GPU's rolling happily at 42%, and it's literally bringing images and cameras from all over the place, mixing them, sending them out, recording them, streaming them all at once. So I'm very, very pleased so far, and I appreciate everyone hanging about. All right. Yeah, look, teacher salary, it might be low, but just when I want to spend some money on something I think's fun and cool and I can't help myself and I've got a want worm burrowing in my brain, I just think about those guys, those men in tights on the push bikes and the bicycles, and I just go, man, those guys they've got this drive to buy carbon fiber drink holders for $800 and stuff like that. And I look at them and go, at least I don't have to buy a bike frame for $8,000. You beauty. And then I'm justified and off I go. You don't have to have all this stuff. What do you, TT, what do you use? You've probably written it. Here we go. Currently shopping a door. Go Reaper, man. Seriously, if you're a teacher, you've probably got access to the whole Adobe suite. So you'd use Audition. But if you don't, then Reaper, it's so good. You can evaluate forever and ever until it's just so good and you love it so much. You just pay them. Trust me, eventually you go, you know what? I'm paying for this because it's such a good product, and it just brings in, if you've got any of those plugins, the isotope stuff, it just drags them in, and there they are. They're just all there ready to use. I just recently found that they appear on. They really understood the whole plugin thing and how they work that well, but I guess they're a bit like, drivers, like audio drivers. They're in there and everything goes looking for them, I suppose. But I just found out recently I can add all my isotope plugins to this live audio. I can add them straight into this microphone. Crazy. I'm not going to do it right now though. Anyway, so you bought Elements. Yeah, why not? Elements will do what you need to do. I don't know what's different between regular and Elements, but the most common one during COVID lockdown, the most common isotope plugin I use is anti-reverb. It's really good. People are sending me. People have this sort of urge on a video call to go into their nicest room in their house or anywhere, and it's always the nice kitchen dining with all the marble and glass and stainless steel everywhere, and it's really super echoey. So what I do is I say, look, can you please go to your bedroom or something like that? But it's not that, sometimes they're just too important to boss around. But the de-reverb, it really brings it back from a ridiculous, you know when you're talking to someone on the phone and you go, I know you're in the toilet, because you can hear the reverb through the phone. It's like that when you're trying to edit and you're used to editing things that are recorded on these microphones in a sound-treated room. Having to edit audio that's got all that echo in it, and people have their microphone miles away turned up, and that's even worse because your sound floor comes up, your noise floor, and the echo is getting a really good go at getting into that microphone. So there you go ranting on about that. But the anti-reverb is the one, and voice denoise is really good. You can have it set to adaptive and it just does its job. Mouse declicking, like especially in the studio, I constantly give people water and tell them to have a sip sometimes, because you get this sort of clicky sound. There's a one of those that just takes all of that out. And what's super fun and super creepy is with all of these, as you'd know, with all of these isotope plugins, you can actually tick a box and it only plays what you're removing. So if you've got de-reverb, anti-reverb, you click this box and all you hear is what it's taking out. Gives you an idea of what it's taking out. So when you do it with the de-mouth click, it's super, super creepy. It literally sounds like a bucket of snails having an orgy. It's really gross, but you don't even know it's there most of the time. But it literally, there's a lot. You can hear this kind of sound, that kind of thing. That's happening all the time underneath your voice. It's awesome. Get rid of it. If people drink lots of water, usually they're all right. 2 seconds before I get back to this, some more questions. This is the first time, the new computer for this studio, so it's an AV studio, so it's a pretty high spec computer. It's a rack mount. I've had it in here for 3 months, and the only thing that's been used for is Minecraft. Right? With my daughter sitting there playing Minecraft on the top of the rack. And because it's been busy, so busy, it's quite a thing to sort of unplug everything and plug in a new computer, and your whole reputation is on things not going wrong. And I finally did, they announced we were going to have a lockdown. I went, right, this is it. Unplugged it and finally plugged it all in. So I've got this 3080 rack mount GPU computer in behind me with tons of this and all the good stuff, and it's going really well. And I thought, well, the other computer is, the day before it was my supercomputer. Now it's just an old computer. No, it's still a supercomputer. And I thought, well, maybe I'll put that in Studio One, but I like Studio One how it's running right now, with a simple computer for simply audio. No, not complicated. People have to be able to walk in unsupervised and use it. So I've got it just down here still where it always was. And I thought, hang on, why don't I put a little shelf here, put a monitor. Let me point at it. Well, you might not be able to see it. Yeah, well, that's the monitor there. That's the screen. So this monitor, and I found this thing, I knew I used it years ago, but it was just vague memory. Mouse without borders. So I've got a keyboard and mouse here on this desk, and I go from this monitor and I move it around, the mouse goes to this monitor. If I move it up, it goes to the projector, all sorts of things, right? But if I move it around even more, it goes to this monitor. It goes to this monitor, which is a different computer. How awesome. So I don't have to have another, which I do have for emergencies, but I don't have to have another keyboard and mouse. I can literally move around here and operate this computer, which means that's what I was doing very early on when I grabbed those other headphones and had a bit of a listen just to see if the audio was working on the YouTube, which it is. I think it is. So I've gone, I'm just leaving it here. This is awesome because I've got all my Adobe suite on that. And here's where it gets tricky. I've got the whole Adobe suite on this computer and on my laptop at home and in Studio One, but they only let you, well, how many devices? 2 devices at a time. So if I go and install Adobe on this one, I got problems because then these 2 are using up my whole license. And it's normally at home when I'm fiddling around with graphics and sort of sorting out the, show notes and doing all my little tricky things, promos for a podcast. So there you go. All right, I'm going to go with Reaper because the cost. Tottenham Teacher says, I think I'm going with Reaper because of the cost and I'm not scared of hard work. Unfortunately, the district does not purchase Adobe Suite. Love Audition. Yeah, oh, that's a shame. I thought maybe Adobe were just handing it out willy-nilly, but doesn't matter. Reaper is your friend. I think there's a psychological barrier to not to learning how to use a DAW, but learning how to use another DAW. It seems to be such a bigger thing. The opposite to language. They say if you learn a second language, it's really easy to go and learn more languages because your brain's sort of tuned into a lot of the concepts of, language structure or whatever. But I think with DAWs, people just really don't want to move. So if you start with, that's why I'm really, 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 really against people using Audacity and GarageBand if they say something like, I'm going to use this for now, and when I get going, I'm going to use Audition or I'm going to use any of them, right? So don't do that. Go straight in to Reaper and go with the grown-up stuff. And you have to relearn everything. And all your shortcuts and all the things you do are all different. I opened up Audition yesterday in the other studio. And, there was a time when everything I did was on Audition. So it's all in there. But it was like, so many moments when I was using different, trying to use different shortcuts that wouldn't cut it. I mean, with a bit of time and effort, you just set them up across the board. Like, this is what I want to use for this. You can match it. But I absolutely love Reaper. I can't go on about it enough. That's for sure. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Harry, for the note on the Facebook Live. It's a hell of I say I'm on here to test it, and then an hour later I'm still on here. I just can't stop talking. But to fill you in, Hazza, I'm just trying to hammer my new PC setup. I've got it running 2 streams. I've got it bringing in 3 cameras on NDI. I've got it externalizing an NDI output, which I'm picking up on another computer, and I've got it recording in 2 different streams, like them recording the output and one of the individual camera outputs. So I reckon I'm pushing it as far as I can imagine ever needing to push it. And the CPU is using 13% and the GPU is 42%. There you go. I know you love a bit of stat. Has a Mataz, and there it is. So I suppose, what else can I show off? What's new around here? I reckon there was a while back there where I was experimenting with. I think when I started using the Zoom L8, I was so used to using the sound pads on the Rodecaster in the other studio. So if someone said, putting your intro in, and you could really, for my own shows, it was great because you just record it all live and there's no edit. You just put the intro in where you need it, right there and then. But then there's another show I do that's got a slightly more complicated edit, but also during the live recordings, it's a film review podcast. And for each episode, each week, there's like 3 or 4 little snippets from the film that the host wants the guests to sit and listen to, just to freshen them up before talking about that scene, if you like. So I looked into getting my iPad repaired, and it's an old banger, and it doesn't have it's too old to have the latest what's her name. So I thought I'll go and get another iPad. It was going to cost me like $400 or $500, just purely to use as a soundboard, right? And I'll get to why in a minute, why I want to use a separate one, because it's not the original reason. The original reason why was because I could use, originally, let me show you this. That's another one of those Stream Decks. That's the smaller one, right? I'm jumping around a bit, but we'll get there. So I would program the Stream Deck this is what I've been doing for the last at least 12 months. I'd program the Stream Deck to play the sounds. It's really, really easy. I record them using Reaper and then render just that section how I want it. And then I've got them in the computer, and then I just put them into the Stream Deck. But the problem is, when we start doing remote recordings, I'm mix-minusing the sound of the computer that comes into the mixer. So the guest doesn't get to hear that unless I reroute that particular sound through a virtual cable and audio cable. It can get quite complicated, and I'm sure there's a way. So I went, you know what, I'm going back to the old ways, and I'm going to use a remote device and plug it into a completely different track. In this, on the L8, it's tracks 7 and 8, or tracks 8 left and 8 right, I think they call them, through the white cable. And I thought, it breaks my heart to have to spend $500 on an iPad just to sit here and purely be a soundboard. And I went down to the local giant conglomerate office supply store, Officeworks, and I bought, let me get this out of the way. And I bought this little guy. You can see it there. It was like $130, right? And it's got this, and it's what do you call it? Not iOS, the other brand, Android. It's just a little Android thing. It's amazing, so cheap. And I just run this soundboard app from Google App Store. It was free, I think. And there you go. I can just bring them in, and I can sit there and just send the audio straight to the mixer in a separate channel. And then when I do my mix minus, I can run that channel into the guest and the recording both together. So there you go. So you can end up with, I don't know if this is going to, I think I've got it. No, this channel's not connected. So that was a quote. That was a quote from a movie where Bruce Lee confronts the Brad Pitt that I had to use. So there you go. Now, I think it's time. What else have I got to show off? I've shown you my new loom, which is magnificent. My colour management board on the cheap. My new lights. I've got. There's one thing I'm going to do on in the rack behind me, I have a NAS. And so there's 4 hard drives going hell for leather all the time. Like it's constantly updating from this computer, that computer, and even on the internet, the laptop at home. So it's constantly backing up and syncing and doing all this thing. So it's quite noisy. I thought it was the GPU working hard, but it isn't. It's the NAS. So I've actually got another cheap rack that I'm going to put in the hallway. There's a spot under the stairs directly through this wall here. So I'm going to put the NAS and the UPS out there and just run the power cable from the UPS. And this is what reminded me, because I've just ordered this, 10 gig Ethernet cable to run to the NAS. So I've got a whole 10 gig Ethernet thing going on, which is very, very exciting. All right. I'm going to bid you adieu because I've got actual work to do. Thanks for testing this. 1 hour and 11 of recording and just under an hour of streaming, and not a problem apart from content. But I'll be leaving these on these platforms for a little while to give myself a chance to watch through and look for glitches and stuff like that. But I'm sure my gang, you guys, would have let me know by now if there was any dropouts or glitches. And I hope you guys in America hold fast through all the different things you've got to hold fast for. Stay warm. I'm sure California's probably not the worst place to be right now. But good luck to 24 Vignettes in Missouri, which sounds, it says, well, he or she, I'm not sure, wrote frozen Missouri. So I'm guessing it's bloody cold. I'll be looking at a map as soon as I hang up this stream to find out where Missouri is. I would have, it sounds like cowboy, to me, I'm thinking of Arizona. All right, I better go before I get in more geographical trouble. All right, so you wonder where you actually end the stream, but if I stop it here, I'm doing an experiment, right? I'm going to talk, I'm going to say goodbye, I'm going to click end stream on my vMix and just see if any gets cut off. So apologies if I get cut off and I just suddenly disappear. All right, thanks. And thanks, Harry. You're a champ. All right, and bye-bye. Oh, wait a minute. It says, do you really want to stop streaming? So much for my cutting edge stuff. All right, here we go. Good luck, guys, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye-bye.